Hi friends. So we're all celebrating Rakhi. Let's wish our sisters a long and healthy life. Let's give them a promise. We shall protect them under all circumstances and stand with them in thick and thin of life, in twists and turns of life. I will and you shall also. Today is a video on another controversial subject which is very difficult to speak on because there's a law on one side, there's an interpretation of one side, and the balancing of taxpayers and government revenues on the other side. GST law, as when we announced it at 12 o'clock on a certain date in Parliament, and we celebrated with a huge pomp and show all over the world, India has done the biggest reform in indirect tax of the size of economy as we Indians are. Well friends, this was one of the biggest reforms a government could ever dream of. But have we been successful? More than 3 years is not a small period. 3 years for a financial economy of a developing country like us, where there's a lot of poverty, a lot of imbalanced growth, a lot of lack of development, water, electricity, roads. But as a professional, I think we have not been able to do much in GST. Not because the collections have not matched our expectations, or the collections have not been revenue neutral compared to VAT regime, but also the stakeholders are not comfortable dealing with GST. First, there has been a total lack of knowledge among various departments, whether they were dealing goods or services or excise. They are not able to take a macro view of GST law. Second, among all of us professionals, we have our own issues of interpretation, of going through circulars, convincing the client, telling the client to pay cash, don't take ITC, etc. There is a third issue. GST Council has been causing a lot of confusion. It's very good they are holding a lot of meetings to clarify. But whatever agenda they set and whatever notification circulars they come up with, most of us lawyers who know basics of GST, not basically experts in constitutional law, we find those circulars or notification should not have been issued. Even the tax rates rationalization, whatever they have done, they may have done that from 28 to we are brought to 18, 18 to 12, 12 to 5. But it is the overall mix they were to see, so that the input, output are balanced. That's more important. In my view, that has not happened. The poor are not happy, the richer are not happy, and the middle class is like under an octopus. They have to be squeezed in. The question of refund was a major issue in GST regime. When it was being discussed, and I was one of the pioneers in holding VAT conferences before GST came in, GST conferences before GST came in. So a lot of people had apprehensions कि like VAT the refund नहीं देंगे आपको, तंग करेंगे, दुनिया भर की मुसीबतें करेंगे, and they will again have this question of bogus dealers, circular trading. Well friends, all that has happened. Refund has been a thorn in the flesh in the GST regime. Not because officers don't want to give, I'm not going to blame them completely. But the kind of things industry has done, the fake billing, fake invoices, circular trading, fake E1 bills, fake EY bills utilization, fake exports. Exporters are not traceable who have claimed refunds, thousands of them. So the government has suffered. At the same time, because of these few black sheep, all other good people who are paying good taxes, who are doing their business in a rightful, in a legitimate manner, are also suffering. You call for refund? I can guarantee you, most of the officers do nothing about refund law. They actually know nothing, I must tell you that. Like for example, refund has to be cleared within 60 days. They don't know. They take 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 10 months, and they don't pay interest. File one more litigation. Interest has to be paid automatic. Then the board has issued many circulars which apparently contravene various legal provisions. Those circulars are beyond the main act. So there are other issues. Then the officer starts checking, assessing refund applications. That is outrageous. Refund application, what documents have to be given, they are prescribed in the rule. 54(5) says, as per documents prescribed and rules prescribed so. Even when all those documents are given, they start assessing them. Have you applied the correct tax rate? Have you applied the correct HSN rate? Why have you claimed capital goods input tax credit? So all this jamela continues to happen. With the result, people go unhappy thinking that GST is a biased law. It is only pro-revenue. Why am I discussing this? Because the Gujarat High Court judgment has been delivered last week, one of the wonderful judgments, VKS Footsteps, discusses all such issues only. The whole judgment is a very sorry state when you read. If a court has to go into the GST concept world over, the GST as an indirect tax system, and comment upon that based on Supreme Court judgments in the non-GST tax eras, it's a sorry state. Why are we not giving refund? Our finance minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, for whom I had the highest regard, one of the most commendable finance minister he was. Then we had our MOF, Jan Sinha. Now we have Honorable Nirmala Sitharamanji and her deputy Thakur, and our Honorable Prime Minister. And in between, Mr. Piyush Goyal also makes a lot of comments. But do they really understand the pain of the industry? Do they really understand GST? I, for one, will say perhaps not. They are not briefed. The Revenue Secretary, the Finance Secretary, do they really know the pulse what is happening in GST? Can you imagine in 3 years, thousands of writs have happened in high courts. Thousands of advanced rulings, right or wrong, have been passed. More than 400 appellate advanced rulings have happened. And how many trucks have been caught on the way, with or without authority of law? They are not aware. Returns have not been filed. The compliance has been on an average 75 to 80% at best. Whatever returns have been filed, they have not been examined. They have not been subjected to audit. People have not been assessed. The return system itself is not complete. Sometimes this return is not coming, this has been scrapped. Annual returns have not been filed. They are being scrapped for this turnover, that turnover. So what is all this happening? It's a sorry state. Who is suffering? India, our country, our economy, because they don't have money for development. They start selling PSUs to get money for the expenses country has to incur. States are claiming compensation, now they say they don't have money. All this happened not because the people were not paying taxes. The dispute between tax collector and taxpayer is one of the most classic disputes. It shall never end. But because the so many circulars, notifications, return delays, penalties, searches, raids, attachments, arrest, jail, threats, anything which you build on fear, friends, never works. Country is like a macro family, like we have a small family. So if in your family you continue to instill fear, family can never progress. So is the country. If you keep filling the economy with fear, because there are certain black sheep and they will remain. There's an Indian Penal Code which says if you kill somebody, you will be hanged. Have we been able to stop murders? For a rape, there is a life sentence or a hanging. Have we stopped rapes? So do you think economic offences will stop? The answer is no. We know we cannot. But since you do not enforce law, you have problems. Gujarat High Court finally was able to appreciate the entire gamut of input tax credit under CGST Act 2007, not rules. They went through definition of inputs, input service, input tax credit in detail, and they reconciled with the cash refund provision in section 54 subsection 3 surplus 2. They heard the most senior advocates in the country at length, the GST philosophy, the international GST experience, the understanding of seamless input tax credit, and the basic purpose, the basic unique selling proposition we call USP of GST, that there should be no tax burden in the manufacturing, trading or export processes. Only final consumer should pay tax because GST is a consumption-based tax. Friends, have we been able to achieve? No, not at all. There are so many mismatches, so many stupid kind of notifications they have introduced, so many exemptions they have given. Where exemption should have been given, they have not given. Virtually entire government services work on an exemption without any corresponding enforcement. So Gujarat High Court reconciled various USPs of GST in India and the world over, and the model law and the various observations given by our leaders and the basic purpose of GST. And they came to conclusion that if something is not there in the Act, can you bring in by way of a rule and by introducing a very ticklish formula which clearly denies cash refund for input tax credit on services. Now this formula is a further complicated stuff. Now supposing you are doing 2-3 kind of services, exempted, non-inverted duty structure and inverted duty structure. The refund is available only for those supplies which are subject to inverted duty structure. And what is inverted duty structure? Where the inputs are taxed at a higher rate than the output tax. If that be so, the law allows you to get cash refund under 54.3. How many people have been given, we don't know. Whether they have been given correctly, that also we don't know. Now imagine people who have taken the refund between 17th to August 17 when the circular was introduced. Has the refund been reversed? I don't think anybody even has looked at the file of those dealers. I doubt. I know 3-4 states, nothing has happened there. So now only because you are applying for inverted duty refund now after the August 18 when the circular came, June or August 18, whatever it was. And circulars were retrospective in nature. Well, right from Vodafone case of income tax, retrospectivity is hated. How can you kill a person for the acts he relied upon you and did? When you introduce a law, there is a legitimate expectation among taxpayers that you will honor your legal provisions. Now you bring in retrospective. You reopen all those cases if at all you can. Under 73, 74, you call for the refund. A refund erroneously given. At that time when it was given, it was not erroneous. It was as per law. It became erroneous because Parliament brought in retrospective amendment through ordinance or whatever. So why did you do it? You don't give ITC for capital goods because you know capital goods will be quite huge, machinery and all the stuff. You don't give it. But when you come to works contract transactions, there is an exception in 17.5, plant and machinery. So even if that is attached to earth, of course it has to remain immovable, but plant and machinery ITC is given. If it's movable, in any case it's given. So if you buy and sell capital goods, no issues. But otherwise capital goods you don't give ITC. Why have you done this? GST was supposed to be an input tax, seamless input tax credit mechanism. Now for restaurants you have don't give capital goods ITC or services because you say 5%. Are you doing a favor to restaurant people? You make it 28%. How does it matter? Let people not go to the restaurant, they eat. People who go to 5-star hotel, they can afford to pay 28%, they are paying. But by putting in 5%, to help whatever audience government think they had. You have denied them input tax credits. They have lost tons of money. Similarly, real estate, 5% no input tax credits. Now, those are the areas, friends, where the input tax amounts are very, very high. Very high. Real estate machinery is very expensive. Inputs are very expensive. So whether you buy cement or paint at 28% or the services 18%, you pay 5%. Now, do you think is the builder paying from his pocket? He's building this entire cost into his final product and then charging 5%. So are consumers gaining? No. The government has a win-win situation. First, they don't have to do assessments, no complications. And secondly, they think they don't have to give the input tax credit, that money retained by them. And this is thousands and thousands of crores every month. Now, Gujarat High Court, when they examined this entire gamut of the model law, of the international GST experiences, of the section 54, read with section 2 of input tax credit mechanism, and when they reconcile this with Rule 89 sub Rule 5, and with that horrendous kind of a formula, which I have never been able to follow, so who made this formula? And a lot of my chartered accountant friends say the formula does not give you the correct result automatically. You still have to work manually. The High Court said, how can you frame this kind of a Rule 89.5, especially the explanation dealing with input tax services, when in law such a provision does not exist? So here comes the government counsel in the High Court says, oh, look at section 164. Government has huge powers to make notifications. High Court says, for the purposes of administration of the Act, when something does not exist in the Act, how did you frame this rule? Then the government says, no. ITC is a concession that the state gives. It can be regulated. High Court again says, it can be regulated as per law. Law has not regulated. Law doesn't write anywhere that input tax on services will not be given. Law says any input tax credit, and input tax credit defined as a tax you pay on goods and services or both when you receive in the course of furtherance of your business. So the Gujarat High Court wrote a 105-page marathon judgment with around 20 effective pages, other about citations and quotes and those arguments of various lawyers, but they still wrote around 25 pages of pure law, discussing Supreme Court judgments, around 18 Supreme Court judgments and 2 or 3 Delhi High Court judgments, and they came to a conclusion, well, to the extent Rule 89.5 read with this formula denies cash refund on input tax credits, this is contrary to law. They held it illegal. Well, in spite of the judgment, the government wanted a stay from the Gujarat High Court. Okay, please stay the operation of the judgment for 1 month. We want to go on SLP. Well, that is also a very special kind of request being made. High Court said no stay. Go to SLP. Now, friends, what happens now? The lawyers doing this High Court, they were senior lawyers, very commendable people, and the High Court. We all knew that section 54(1), you have to file the application for cash refund before the expiry of 2 years from the relevant date given in 54(1) explanation. So for 17-18, the time is gone. I personally thought High Court should have taken suo motu issue as far as writ petition, and they should have decided what happens to those people who have been denied refund, who did not claim because you had this law or because you had this circular and you scared people. It did not happen. There is another issue. What happened to capital goods? Why will it not go on the same lines? What about restaurants? Why 5%? Because you want to please people, You want to encourage your tourism, our food is cheap, and to deny the input tax credits to the restaurant owners. But well, this is another problem. They think this entire cost of tax is not being added to the cost of the food. It is being added. Nobody is going to shell out the taxes from the pocket and suffer financial losses. That doesn't happen. What about capital goods for exports? They also don't get. But there's a dichotomy. If you have claimed entire input tax credit, including capital goods, and you are paying IGST by setting off your input tax credit, then what happens? Does the department check those cases and reverse input tax credits? No. If you pay cash, they give you a refund. It's okay. Then you also claim your input tax credit. So all these issues connected with refund are causing a lot of pain in the industry. Then when you file the refund application, for acknowledgement, giving ARN, most of the people are harassed. The officer, when you file the application online or you give a physical copy, they start checking. But there is no power to assess the refund application. Refund application has to be accepted as it is filed, because refund is based on a self-assessment. And when you file the return, it is deemed to be self-assessed. That is a self-assessment order. Unless that order is modified either by the taxpayer by way of an appeal if he wants to make more claims, or by the revenue by examining those returns and say your refunds were incorrect, that refund becomes like a decree. You have to execute it. 54(7) says refund has to be given within 60 days. Let us compile a data. Let GST Council get this data. How many refunds have been given within 60 days, even in 4 months, 6 months? For years they don't give. Recently in Delhi High Court, one of my friend Rajesh Jain, Zion International case he did. After many months, they did not reject, they did not issue ARN, nothing they did. And they still had the guts to say to High Court, no, we want to issue them a deficiency memo. Well, buddies, 60 days is the time you have to give refund. You don't give. In Union of India Hamdard Wax Lab case, Supreme Court interpreting excise law with the period of 90 days, Honorable Justice Deepak Mishra wrote, 90 days is sacrosanct. Whatever you have to do with the refund application, it should be done in 90 days. The reason was similar. There, of course, this was not a before, there also was the same before the expiry of 1 year. Here we have before the expiry of 2 years. There was an interest default. Here also in 56 months you have interest default. But we don't give. Now, whether Gujarat High Court judgment will be carried through by the Gujarat authorities also? Well, buddies, I doubt. Can no states follow High Court? High courts have to be strict. They should ask for a compliance report. That is how this economy will work. Have you given the refund? File the list. Now what will happen? They'll go into SLP. As a lawyer, I'm very sure the Supreme Court is very unlikely to stay the suppression of judgment of Gujarat High Court on this innovative duty structure, because it defeats the very basic purpose of GST. It erases all creases of input tax credit which was supposed to be seamless. It creates a lot of big seams. Other states will not follow this because they say, no, Gujarat High Court judgment is not applicable to us. So what happens now? You had Section 140 litigation, transitional credits. You had Section 132, arrest without assessment, without adjudication. And now you have Section 54. Then you have those Section 83 cases. You have Section 129, the transport cases, where Supreme Court had to come down in state of UP and KP Fragrances case. What's to be done? So five key issues, critical issues, and you have 5 huge litigations in the country. How do you make this GST system work? All departments are engulfed in litigation, fights, dog fights. झगड़े होते हैं, पैसे दो हमारे, आप ब्याज क्यों नहीं देते हैं आप लोग? डिपार्टमेंट कहता है तुम चोर हो, तुमने सर्कुलर ट्रेडिंग किया है, तुम गलत सप्लायर से डील करते हो. वेल फ्रेंड्स, it's a tax, it's money. This dispute shall remain forever. It will never go. But the way we have dealt with GST system so far, I want to tell the finance minister, okay, well, you need to do a lot of introspection, a lot of soul searching. What kind of team you have? Why do they advise you for these kind of laws? Finish it. You don't want to give it? Amend section 54 completely, rewrite. Say on this we will give, on this we will not give. But then, this is not the only section. You have to sync with the entire act. Your entire act must suggest what you want to convey in section 54. This is the message from Gujarat High Court. You simply can't issue circulars, get up and issue circular notifications. That is very, very bad. Look at section 140. I am a lawyer who wrote the longest article in the country on section 140. Two of my friends worked with me on that article. 31 pages. Pure law. I was supporting you. The rule 117 is not directory. It's mandatory. Because input as credit is a concession. It is not a vested right. But as you go along, you learn more. What are the assassins asking you? Forget me as an author of writing an article. They were asking the transitional input tax credit of input tax that they had already availed in the earlier regimes. They were not availing in GST regime. So ITC still remains a concession. Transitional input tax credit is not input tax credit. This word is not defined in Act. It is a transitional input tax credit. So the judgments which we read were dealing with input tax credits in the existing regimes, not in the past regimes. But a lot of judgments came. Delhi favor, Punjab favor, all other high courts against. And recently, even after brand equity judgment was stayed by the Supreme Court, Madras High Court in PR and Electronics last week, again they said Rule 117 is mandatory. Okay, Supreme Court has stayed the judgment. Why can't the state government give the relief? Has Supreme Court said don't give relief? So what are the assessees claiming in Tran 1? Those taxis, they had availed, and they had their in electronic credit ledgers balances. So what has been delayed is a transitory period. They are not claiming input tax credit based on purchases made in GST regime. But the litigation will carry on. So Gujarat High Court judgment, we have all read. I'm not going to dwell on the facts. But in nutshell, it has laid down a principle. It's a historic judgment. First time a High Court has dealt with a constitutional validity of a provision. But the same Gujarat High Court held section 13(8) subclause 2 on intermediaries in IGST Act, a POS being in India, they held this constitutionally valid. Because that is right in the Act. It's not coming through rules or notifications. They said this is valid. Even though in central sales tax, we had a concept in the course of export, in the course of import. We had penalty made sales, format sales. So intermediary can also be put in that category and given relief so that people work more and more to earn foreign exchange. But we want in litigation, the entire government to be in litigation. Well, friends, the litigation must stop. GST Council must work hard. Revenue Secretary of the country, of the Ministry of Finance, must look into this video, try to understand what are we trying to convey. Your law is faulty. That is why the various high courts are able to, get the loopholes, get the loose ends. They can't tie because they can't frame the law. So they declare them illegal. Section 140, Rule 117. And your legal machinery, it has to be pepped up considerably. Reduce litigation if you want taxes. If you continue to have this kind of DSC regime, another 3 years, I wonder, are we going to go Malaysia way? You can't pay compensation because you don't get taxes. You are thinking of getting loans to pay GST compensation. Oh, that is outrageous. Your GDP has around 80% component from these taxes. You have to save this 80% category so that our country goes on higher development as our Honorable Prime Minister wants. So friends, this was a video. A lot of pain. I have remade it. I made one in the morning. But I thought, I should remake it to make it more impressive. The GST Council agenda, the questions they put, the answer also they only give. They don't ask answers from experts. If this is our agenda, what is your role? So if you adopt a participatory style rather than a dogmatic or autocratic style of leadership, the results will be better for the country, better for the economy. Well friends, God bless you all. Wish you a happy Rakhi. May you all, brothers and sisters, stay blessed to infinity. God bless. Thank you. This is Sushil Verma signing off.